Careblazer. In last week's video, we talked about how many people wait months or even years from the time they suspect something is going on with their loved one's thinking to the time their loved one actually gets the diagnosis. And for many people, they may not ever get the diagnosis to begin with. I'll be sure to link to that video in the description below if you missed it. In this video, I'm going to share 6 reasons why somebody would actually want to know if they do have a dementia diagnosis. And then I have a very important question I'm going to ask you at the end where your answer could potentially help another Careblazer. So don't miss that. Okay, many people fear getting a diagnosis of dementia. That is completely understandable. But not getting the diagnosis when in fact your loved one does have dementia, that is not going to make caregiving any easier. In fact, it can make things even more difficult for you. Let's get started. Reason number 1 is planning for the future. Somebody with dementia will eventually require 24/7 care. So understanding that this disease is present can help you and your loved one and other family members come together to decide what would be best for that future's care needs in the future. Making financial arrangements to help make sure that is possible. Making sure that you are protecting whatever assets you can ahead of time while there's still time. It's also important to know that when somebody gets dementia, at some point, they're going to be unable to live independently, drive a motor vehicle, manage their finances. So once we understand what's happening, even if they're able to do some of those things now, you and your family can start to put plans into place, start to look for signs ahead of time to prevent potential major consequences from happening in the future. I can't even tell you how many heartbreaking stories I have personally witnessed working with people who have lost their entire life's savings because the family didn't realize something was going on, that they had dementia until it was too late, until the person knocked on their door and said, "You haven't paid your mortgage in a year," until the family realized that somebody coming in who was helping them, a friend, was actually somebody taking all their money from their bank accounts. When we understand the dementia is present, then we are able to understand, okay, we're going to need to provide a bit more oversight, more supervision, keep a closer eye on things so that we know when to step in and how much as this disease progresses. Without knowing this is there, we are likely in some cases to just continue thinking the person's okay or that everything is okay. Because as you know, the person with dementia doesn't often say, "Hey, I'm having problems thinking and I need more help," or "I'm having problems managing my finances and I need more help." It doesn't work that way. So for some people, it's going to be very apparent in the beginning they need some help. And for other people, it's not. And the sooner you get that dementia diagnosis, the more you can start planning for the future to realize, what am I going to put in place to make sure I can protect our assets to the fullest extent possible and also minimize any serious consequences that can happen if I'm not providing the oversight. Your loved one getting the dementia diagnosis does not mean you step in right away and you take over everything. In fact, I don't recommend that at all. That will put a lot of tension and strain on your relationship. But when they do have the diagnosis, it will now allow you to realize, okay, it's time to be a little bit more cautious and careful and supervise a little bit more what they are doing. They don't have to know you're doing it. It's just good for you to know. And one final important note about getting a dementia diagnosis and planning for the future. If you are pursuing or going through an evaluation for your loved one to see if they have dementia, you might want to consult with an elder law attorney prior to getting that diagnosis. There may be some things that you will not be able to get after the dementia diagnosis is made. For example, long-term care insurance. It's going to be highly unlikely that your loved one would qualify for a long-term care insurance policy if they have a dementia diagnosis on the record. So if you are in the midst or you are about to embark on getting a dementia evaluation or assessment, you might want to consult with an elder law attorney just to check that there are not some things you need to do first before that diagnosis comes into play if your loved one actually has that diagnosis or gets that diagnosis. Okay, so that's very important. Let's move into reason number 2, avert safety issues. When we realize that our loved ones have dementia, we know that there are likely going to be some safety issues involved, and you knowing this ahead of time can allow you to avert safety issues. I have a care course member whose mom has dementia, and she's actually living in a care facility at this time, but her mom loves putting eye drops in her eyes, but she realized right next to her eye drops was hand sanitizer. And so understanding that in dementia, somebody's ability to exercise good judgment, understand and maybe be able to decipher what different things are, understanding that that can be compromised, this astute Careblazer was able to realize we need to separate these two things. This is also a situation where we know since driving abilities will eventually no longer be safe, now you can start paying attention to when they're getting lost, unexplained dents, scratches on the car, maybe them being gone longer than expected based on where they said they went. I have an actual video on dementia driving warning signs where maybe they're no longer safe to drive, as well as a video on how to approach the conversation with your loved one or how to make sure they don't drive when they're no longer safe to drive. I'll link to that in the description below. But here, what we want to do is we want to avoid potential safety issues because we are realizing we can intervene here. We can remove some things from their environment here. We don't want to wait for a major accident or a major issue to pop up. We don't have to most of the time. We can respond and change the environment prior to those things happening. Number 3, it can help them get appropriate treatment. For example, they might be prescribed medications that can help with symptoms and overall quality of life. It may also be able to allow your loved one to participate in clinical trials of new treatments that are on the horizon if that's something that you want to pursue. Reason number 4, and this is a big one, is understanding the disease. Once you have a diagnosis of dementia, now you have a name to what you are seeing with your loved one. And this can make caregiving an easier journey for you. It will help you understand why your loved one seems to be having troubles with certain behaviors and conversations and words that maybe they've never struggled with before. Without actually having this diagnosis, if in fact your loved one does have dementia, it can be easy to just think that the person is being hard or mean or rude on purpose, when in fact it's the disease process. And if you want even more information on how to care for a loved one with dementia without the overwhelm, dread, and confusion, there's a free class you can sign up for in the description below. Reason number 5, somebody would want to know if they have a dementia diagnosis, or you would want to know if your loved one has a dementia diagnosis, is that they could qualify for resources they would not have qualified prior. And if you are in the United States, I highly recommend you Google your local area agency on aging and give them a call and let them know about your situation to see what resources you might qualify for. I also recommend calling up the Alzheimer's Association and letting them know about your situation and seeing what resources you might qualify for as well. Even if your loved one doesn't actually have the Alzheimer's disease type of dementia, they might have another type of dementia. That's okay. I would still give them a call. It might also open up doors for you to qualify for respite services, for support groups, and other caregiver interventions. And finally, reason number 6 is that understanding your loved one has a dementia diagnosis can help improve communication. Communicating with your loved one will certainly change with this disease process, and understanding how the brain is processing language and words can help save you and your loved one so much frustration and anger. For example, your loved one will now start picking up more on your tone of voice and your body language more than the words. So that's going to cue you that no matter what words you're saying, we need to also check in on how we're saying it and how we look when we say it. Otherwise, the person with dementia is only going to be picking up on your nonverbals, or they'll be picking up on your nonverbals way more than the actual words you use. So understanding how we can change our approach to make the communication most effective can save so much stress for you. Careblazer, I would love to know how getting a diagnosis for your loved one was actually helpful to you. We all know that when a loved one gets dementia, it is heartbreaking, and there are so many challenges that come along with it. But what isn't talked about enough is how getting the diagnosis can also be helpful. I don't mean people want the diagnosis. I mean that understanding what is going on with your loved one, that is helpful. If understanding what was going on with your loved one has helped you in any way on your caregiving journey, leave it in a comment below so that another Careblazer who might be a bit afraid or nervous to pursue that dementia evaluation for their loved one can read it and know that there is some helpful and good information that can come when we actually find out what's going on with their loved one. I am sending you all so much love. Thank you for being a part of this amazing community. I'll be back next week, as always, with a new video. In the meantime, I hope to see you in my free class on how to care for a loved one with dementia without the overwhelm. Bye. Also, Nico gets a belly rub for every person who subscribes from this video. So if you haven't already, click the red subscribe button. It's totally free, and Nico says thank you very much.